Hope everyone is well. Oh, my hair is a mess tonight. What can we do? What can we do? Hope everyone is well and having a good week. Got a really exciting live tonight with the lovely Heather. Literally cannot wait to talk all things plan, weight loss, life. Find these lives really motivating and really keep me on track for the week. So hopefully we can offer some midweek motivation to you all as well. Just waiting for her to join. Oh, it's lovely seeing all of you, come on. I've also just taken my hair out of the ponytail, so if it looks crazy, that's why. But I thought, let's be comfy. I'm going to see if I can... And this is where I'll have to rejig myself then. Let's see if this works. Hello, love.
Hey,
You just move that up a little bit. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You have to excuse my weird lighting. I'm at the caravan at the moment, so
I
I'm,
know, I can't believe that you're away at the minute and you still wanted to come on, so thank you so much.
oh, it's not, it's fine. I'm just away with kids, and I must just put a disclaimer that a child may come running through, um, because Keith's at home because he's had work commitments. So yeah, I have told them to stay out.
Leave me alone for a little bit. Oh, don't worry, Poppy has cried, I think, on every single live I've done, and when I watch them back, I can hear her in the background. And I
Oh,
always think people must think I'm such an awful parent, but Jamie is there watching her as well.
oh, well, mine are alone, so
Oh, you'll be fine. I'm sure they're older than 19 months, so you'll be absolutely fine.
they'll be right.
Uh, like I said, though, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, these lives are intended to share lots of different people's stories from across the one-to-one community, and get kind of different perspectives, a bit of motivation. And there was a list of people I really, really wanted, and your name was on that list because I love your story because it has a bit of a different dynamic to it that I could really relate to, which I'm sure we'll get into throughout the live. But do you want to just start off by letting everyone know who you are, what your journey's been with the one-to-one plan?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Heather. I'm 39. I've just had my birthday. I can't believe I'm going to be 40 next year. It's crazy.
That's a
Um,
big one.
no. So I lost weight quite a few years ago when my daughter had turned one with the one-to-one diet. I actually put on more weight after I'd had her than like when I was pregnant. I spent a lot of time breastfeeding in coffee shops, and you could see it on me.
It's so
Uh,
easy to do. I was the same after Poppy. I was like, I had her. I lost like that initial like water weight that you lose, and then I was like, how am I 2 stone heavier? She was born 3 months ago, but it does. It's so easily done. Those midnight snacks when you got to feed them.
yeah, I mean, I hadn't sort of lost all my baby weight from having my son either. So he turned three just before I had her. Um, and yeah, it's just the way it was. But I mean, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. But yeah, so I lost weight after I had like when I finished breastfeeding, I went back to work and I was like got ready, you know, getting ready for work, and I was like, oh, nothing fits me. Like I had to order extra big, like bigger polo shirts than I'd had before, or I was wearing the ones that I'd worn when pregnant, and they even felt tight. Um, and yeah, and I was just like, oh, so I've got to do something. Like I just felt horrible. Um,
Yeah, it's so hard. And when you're a new mum, I think you don't feel like yourself, do you? I certainly didn't feel like myself. And I think when you don't feel like yourself and you feel that uncomfortableness of being overweight, those two things are is so hard to deal with those together. And like you say, it's little things like getting dressed. Like I was the same. I was still in the maternity clothes I wore when I was pregnant, and those were getting tight. And I was like, what is going on? Like how am I letting this happen? What was the moment for you? Because weirdly, Poppy was nearly one when I started plan as well. It's like that age whenever people we almost decide like, right,
now's the time to do something. But what was that trigger point for you?
So for me, I was going back to work, and then also while I was off with her, I had quite a few health issues. So I had problems with my skin. So I'd always had psoriasis in my scalp, but it affected my hands, and like my fingernails started coming off. So my hands
Oh,
would bleed all the time. I'd be like holding her, and she'd have blood all over her baby grow, and I'd have trouble getting both the kids in and out of the car seats without my fingers bleed, just undoing the catches. And then so I had that, and then it affected my eyelids. So I looked like
oh.
I was constantly crying. Um
Was that from the psoriasis? 'Cause I don't know if you've maybe mentioned before, Jamie's got really bad psoriasis as well. And he, again, he got really bad, his nails, and weirdly, his got worse after Poppy was born. But I think it's like a stress reaction can make it
Completely
worse.
sleep. So I wasn't nourishing myself properly. I it was just a sugar fix all the time. Like I
Yeah.
and yeah, so constantly craving sugar, and yeah, I just wasn't looking after myself. And then I think with the feet, and I was determined to breastfeed her for as long as I could, just because I hadn't worked how I wanted to with my son, and probably
Mm.
in hindsight I really wasn't doing myself any favors. It was great for her, but
Yeah,
actually
but it's so hard, especially I suppose because you had that disappointment maybe from the first journey of breastfeeding not going as you expected. I know a lot of my friends, I didn't breastfeed myself, but a lot of my friends, and it always seems to be like they have this really big pressure on their second or third. It's like the first time they go, okay, this isn't really working out, but then the next time they have this major pressure on themselves to like get through. And I think that amongst everything else is so hard to deal with.
yeah, it was just, yeah, and I think, but I did find it easier just because my son, like, it was just easier, and like we could be at soft play, and I'd be feeding her, and he needed me, I could just easily just take her with me. I didn't really take off the, but she'd there, and
Come along for the ride.
yeah, food on the go. So in that respect, that was amazing, and and it was fine. But yeah, I mean, my skin was in pieces. Yeah. I mean, I had people stop me and be like, "Are you okay?" Thinking I was just
Oh,
crying. um, so yeah, and it got to the point where then at the hospital, I started some treatment, and I was like, I need to lose weight. I need to look after myself, and actually, then my skin will. Because they said like that, on every tick sheet, are you stressed? And
yes.
yeah, and actually, a lot of that was to do with my bad diet, and
Yeah.
like if I can sort that out, then actually I might sleep better, and yeah. So
Because, like you
enough.
said, you get in a vicious cycle, don't you? If you're absolutely exhausted, like tiredness, you can never explain those newborn kind of first 3 6 months. You just can't explain it. And you crave that sugar. And I was in an awful cycle. I don't know if you can relate, where I was literally like up most of the night, and then the first thing in the morning, I'd have a really sugary coffee and then toast with jam or like any like sugar, 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 try and give me some energy. Then she would nap, so I'd fall asleep on the sofa. I'd wake up, then I'd want to grab a chocolate bar or like something else, get more sugar, and all I'd be thinking about all day is where do I get quick fixes of stuff that's going to make me have energy. But
Mm,
actually, you're not nourishing yourself, so it's just your sugar's up and down and up and down. And whereas if you nourish your body, and it's very easy to say, I don't think I could have done it back then, where you are giving yourself, good food, um, you stabilize that blood sugar, and you probably feel a million times better than you do on the carousel of chocolate and rubbish that I was eating. But coming off that carousel can be really daunting because that's kind of all you know to get you through those hard days.
yeah, it's your comfort, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's as much as you want your baby to self-soothe, like I was self-soothing myself with sugar
100%.
and mockers.
Oh, I
like,
love a mocha.
like at the time, Waitrose, had their free drinks, and we have a Waitrose in town, and you could get them from the cafe. And yeah, I'd be in there every day for a mocha.
You do that. I was like, we obviously couldn't go out because of lockdown, but we bought a coffee machine literally within the first 2 weeks of her being here. And then we'd buy all the syrups and like all the little fancy things that you add into it. Like, but yeah, it was just always, it was like artificial energy, like you reach for, isn't it? So when you started on the one-to-one plan, how did you become aware of it? Because I'm always really interested in how people found plan, because it's like a secret society at the beginning. Like when you don't know about it and then you find it, you're like, oh, what's this little cult that I've just stumbled across?
So I had looked into it years ago, and actually Keith and I had done it for like a week years ago. And it was just back when it was just the Cambridge weight plan, and it was just, we went, got weighed, got our products, and then didn't, we just booked in an appointment. There wasn't the sort of one-to-one element back then, and I don't remember it being like a thing, like, we weren't told that we would have constant contact, or
Yeah, just kind of like, here are the products, have
yeah.
them. Good luck.
It was, I mean, I cannot tell you how much, like, the products are just amazing now, like compared to back then. It was the version of like the TDR that is now. So it was, they were all calories. So it was a lot different, and I just didn't get on with it. So I knew in the back of my mind that was it, and I had done Slimming World. I've done everything, and I really have. And back then, I mean, obviously we'll probably come onto it, but about my lipedema. But and I just struggle. Like, I struggle to lose weight. Like, I cannot tell you how much I struggle. Like, I can be 100%, and then I have someone who's weighing, in front of me at like a traditional diet club. They'll be like, but why are you? Because, you're not, the scales aren't telling me that. And I, could be hand on heart, like I'm 100%. But
it's so hard, isn't it? Like, I remember that culture, and I was funny speaking to Jamie about it the other day. And when you kind of take a step back, I was like, I have been like indoctrinated into that way of dieting over the last 15 years. And actually, when you sit back and think about it, the idea of being in a room full of people and having somebody question you on why you have or haven't gained weight, and like you say, when you've got, when you've just had a baby, or you've got a health condition, and there's no tailoring to your needs, then I can't imagine how like soccer punch to the gut that must be, like stepping on when you've been 100%, and then trying to, you're picking apart your week then, aren't you, to find, well, I mustn't have been good because they're telling me I haven't been good. What do you think was the difference then with like one-to-one? Was it products, the support?
Yeah, so I did go back to Slimming World before I went back to work with Darcy.
I did as well. We've all been there. For our sins.
It just didn't work out for me. It was really slow, and then I was just like, I need something quicker, and obviously knew from before about the one-to-one diet, or it was still Cambridge weight plan, yeah, I was like, I just need something quick. I just need to get some weight off so I can move more and just feel comfortable. I needed to be able to go in the soft play with my son while carrying a baby easily without needing both my hands to get myself off the floor. I mean, I didn't have, like, everyone's got different amounts that they need to lose, but I think because my legs are so much bigger as well, like, I just find things more of a struggle anyway, and then on top of that, then being a bit overweight, I just need it.
It's just compounding on each other, isn't it? It's like you start off with one problem that's enough to deal with in itself, but then if you add the weight on top of that, then it suddenly becomes so much bigger than it like ever was before. And I can completely like relate to that, especially like you say, just being able to get up. I remember like having like with Poppy in a baby group, and they were like, right, we're gonna do a song, or you know, they're like maybe it's like we're going to it was, for me, it was like I was entering into a hits workout, but apparently we were just singing like Five Little Ducks, and I was mortified. I was like, I can't do this. And then like, everyone stands up, and the thought that I had to like put her down in order to stand myself up and then pick her back up myself, it's you feel like you feel like you just body's failing you in moments like that.
So when everyone's sitting down with their legs crossed with their baby in front of them, I can't, I just couldn't cross my
No, I
legs.
know, same.
And like I get such bad pins and needles, and then I'd be like shaking my legs out because they'd go like numb and I couldn't feel my feet, and I'd be like, won't
Oh
be
my God,
there.
exactly the same.
And
It was awful, and then you don't want to go, but then you're conflicted because you're like, well, I need to go because it's good for the baby, but it's such like a mortifying experience that like I don't want to go.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, it just what to wear, like it just sounds so silly, but I think when you are overweight and you're not happy with how you look and how your clothes fit, you know, you constantly think about it like, oh well, you know, will my jeans be, you know, showing my bum crack, or do
Yeah,
you know?
it's so hard. I used to be like, because I obviously was so big, and I'd get really hot, and I've always had like folds of skin just everywhere, and I'd be like, I'm gonna like sweating. Am I gonna then? Is it, you know? Am I gonna like stink at because I'm all hot and sweaty? Because you know it's like a nice day, but I can't wear like a t-shirt and just, or like a nice dress. I've got to wear like a leggings and then a white top underneath and then a t-shirt and then a cardigan, and like it is so much effort, and I think losing weight, it gives you that effortlessness that you lacked before.
Yeah.
So when you started plan then, how much were you like, this is what I would like to lose? Did you have like a goal in mind?
Um, yes and no. So I was like, I just wanted to see like 10, you know, it didn't matter, you know, where on the scale it was, but I just wanted to see a 10 because I just couldn't remember a time when I'd seen that for a while. And like I did get down to that. So I've always sort of struggled since sort of, I suppose my like late teens with my weight. And yeah, I just couldn't. I did get down in my sort of early 20s, when my husband, now husband, and I first moved in together. But you know, I didn't have
Always
children
make you fat.
at the time, so
What happens?
and yeah, just yeah. And I remember getting down to that, and I felt like my legs and my arms felt all right back then. And yeah, I just wanted to sort of get to that is what I sort of wanted to do, and then I did. And then actually in 2019 I managed to get into the nines, which was, you know, amazing. And that was when I then found out, because I still felt really big, because I have lipedema, which I talk about on my page. And yeah, so although I kind of got to that way, like in my head I don't see myself as, you know, I can wear clothes that are like, most of my clothes I'll pick up now are a size 10, but I don't feel, not trousers I can struggle with because of my legs, but I don't actually still see myself like that, if you know what I mean. I think because my arms are big.
Oh,
So
it's so hard.
yeah. And then last year, so I wanted to go back to my original. So I lost the weight, and then I sort of have kept it off with diet and exercise, up until last year, when I did put weight on
Lockdown.
and the gyms closed. Yeah, and
I think everyone did. It was like, I know they banded around the word unprecedented, but it really was. And I think for anyone who's ever used food as a comfort in a time that was so anxiety ridden, like every day it was just bad news and worry. And, you know, I think people who didn't turn to their comfort, whether that be food, or I had a lot of people who drink like quite socially, and drink became a bit of a problem for them in
yeah,
lockdown because they just, that was what made them happy. And there was very little to turn to in that moment. You know, I knew people who were like real gym goers, but because the gyms weren't open, they then turned to food and drink because they were like, well, I can't go and lift weights or go to a Pilates class or do any of that. So I think, yeah, I think it was a real struggle for everyone. And I think still now people are struggling because now they're in that weird battle of, I've put weight on over lockdown, but now it's kind of all over and we can go out again. And now I want to go out and party. They've had the weight gain in lockdown and they've not felt great about it. And now they're like, oh, I just want to go out and party all the time. And then you get that cycle then, don't you, where you're doing maybe not the best things for your health, you're not feeling great, but you just keep doing it. And I've seen a lot of people that are kind of struggling with that cycle at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because you know you've not seen people, and then there's all these brunches going on and things, and you're like, what do I do?
Oh my gosh, the amount of bottomless brunches are happening within my circle of friends. I think South Wales must be out of Prosecco. We must have run out. We could not possibly have any Prosecco left. Oh, so I know you mentioned about your lipedema. It's something I'm really keen to talk to you about because it's something that I'm in the process of speaking to my doctors about. And I don't know about you, but I can really relate when you say like you've lost weight and you just feel so out of proportion. I will have it be said in this very moment that any leggings you see me in are compression leggings from Gymshark because they, like, my legs are not naturally, they're not slim at all. They're just one size from top to bottom pretty much. And painful. Since I've had Poppy, just painful all the time. And I'm finding already with my GP that it's been a real, like, don't really know what I'm talking about, not like kind of saying, oh, lose the weight, try exercise, see what happens. How did you, like, when was it you got your diagnosis and how did you find that process? Was it is this normal?
So 2019, I actually found out that there was a name for it. And I don't remember myself pre sort of having bigger than average legs, like, which I see photos, like, family, like my mum and dad have got photos of us as children, and I'm like, oh, look how normal, like, and that is literally the first thing I see. Look how normal my legs are. And like, which is crazy, that's the first thing I look at is my legs, and it's that much, like, it really is that much of a thing with me that everything I do, the thought about my legs is always in there, which is just so sad. I mean, I used to go horse riding and I couldn't fit the children's joggers. I'd have to wear like small, because I've always had a small waist.
Same.
So
like this bit is lovely. If we could just have that all the way down.
So people are always like, oh, you've got such a pretty face and look at your little waist. Then that's it.
Oh my gosh, literally preaching to the choir.
Thanks.
Do you know, I think I'd always had I'd always just not seen anyone else with legs like mine. And then for my whole teenage, like, as long as I can remember, like my whole teenage years, and my mum was the same, funnily enough. Like I weirdly remember her having a bit of a like complex about it. She would never have known what it was. And it wasn't until I came onto Instagram, and I think it might have even been when you, like, it was either one of yours or one of Jade's like posts, and I was like, oh my God, like they are my legs. Like I've never had knees. I've never had ankles. I bought a pair of Chelsea boots today to try on, and I don't know why I even thought that was a good idea, but I was like, I've lost nearly 8 stone. I'm going to try it. It'll be amazing. And literally put them on and had a fat roll on my ankle over the boot, and I could have cried. I was just like, this is not fair. Like, you work so hard. It can be really depressing. And then I don't know if you experience like the pain. I thought it was my feet to begin with when I was pregnant, because they really got bad when I was pregnant. But since then, yeah, the pain, like the achiness in my legs some nights is hard.
Yeah. So I I get pain, yeah, for sure. And with my diagnosis, so I found out it had a name in 2019, and it I went to the doctors and was like, oh my goodness, like I think I know what's wrong with me. And he was a bit like, oh, and it was the nicest doctor that we have at our surgery. Like, he's so lovely. And he was like, I've literally never heard of that name. And I was like, well, from what I've read, 11% of women have this. I
It's
was
a
like,
lot, isn't it?
keep that name in your head, because you must have other women, young girls that come to you who, like, I was like, and honestly, if you then give them a name, you will change their lives. Like, you don't even have to give someone the like way to fix it, but just to let them know that it actually is something, and it's not just
Yeah. It's not
work
just
harder
there.
at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've always
Because
felt, I don't know, I've done something wrong. Like, I was a failure in my attempts to try and slim them, or something. Like, I've always looked at magazines, you know, when you see like people, and the first thing I always look at, like when I was younger, legs. You know, trying to see, like, is there a celebrity that's got slightly bigger legs? Like, please don't let me be the only person.
And
Um,
I remember seeing, was it Shauna on Love Island? And she's come and she's said that she's got a diagnosis since being on the program. But I remember seeing her on the program and being like, oh, and that actually might have been the first time. And then I was like, oh my God, like there's a girl like that, she's got legs like me. But then to see the people be so nasty about her, I was like, oh my gosh, like what? Like those are my legs. Like, why are you being so cruel to her? Like, she's so beautiful. But it was the same thing. Nice face, slim waist, but your legs aren't slim. And I find it so hard. I have found it so hard. But even just knowing that, like you say, it's a thing, has like removed so much of that like burden. Because you're like,
yeah,
oh, okay, it's not that I'm just like you say, not good at toning my legs or like doing whatever.
yeah, it is actually a medical condition, and yeah, there's, you know, you couldn't help it. And I know, you know, they'll say to you, try and keep your weight down and things, but so many women who have it come under the obese category, um, because they've tried so hard and failed, and that's just so depressing. And I completely understand why they're like, well, nothing I do works anyway, because that's what I was like. Like, it literally doesn't matter what I do, I cannot lose an inch from my leg. Like, my thighs, in pregnancy, um like, you know, one thigh was, what, you know, wider than my waist now. Like, just like, it's crazy.
But it's funny because, like, you say that, and I know it is crazy. But I sit here going, "Oh yeah, no, mine probably was as well, actually." Like it is mental. And I also found it, and I don't know if it's a symptom, if it's like common, but I've got like really bad, I suppose, like cellulite all down my legs, like from my thighs, even on my calves. Who knew you
Yeah,
could get cellulite on your calf? Um, and like on my arms, like they're like bad as well. And then I used to see people being like, try this cellulite scrub. And I'd be like, that is never going to work. Like, that's, you don't understand what I'm dealing with here. Like, and people would be like, try dry brushing. I'm like, are you off your head? I'll be
oh,
dry brushing my legs into next week.
I can't tell you how much money I have spent on these, like, treatments. I mean, my friend got married in Turkey 11 years ago, and before her wedding, I went and had, the only thing I can explain is like a vacuum,
Oh, I've
and
seen this.
stuck, and they'd be like, oh, you've lost an inch, you know, because they measure after. And I'd be peeing like a racehorse. But now I know, with my lipedema, I have secondary lymphedema. So, like, when
Ah, okay.
me and he was talking about the lymph fluid, and that kind of carries the fat from the fat cells, and you pee it out and stuff. So my lymph fluid gets trapped because the fat I don't know how really to describe it properly, but the fat is fibrous, my lipedema fat, and then it like blocks the path for the lymph fluid. And actually, so what the vacuum thing was doing was
It's moving the
basically
fluids.
fluid, so that I would measure smaller, but then a day later it will be back to the same, because actually you've not, you know, the water pools again, and then
Yeah.
so you
Oh,
know,
it's so hard.
I think I would have spent well over £1,000 on that treatment before we went, and yeah, I didn't look any different.
You
But
do become desperate though, don't you?
oh
Like I was looking the other day, so obviously I've made no secret of the fact that I want skin surgery because I've got skin's just shot to pieces, to be honest. But I want to get my stomach done and my arms done because I was going to get my boobs, and then I thought no one sees them. People, not even Jamie, but people see my arms. So I'll look at them done. And weirdly, as I'm losing weight, like the cellulite on my arms is becoming a bit worse. I don't know if it's because I'm losing fat deeper down and the fat straight under the skin staying. And then I got in a really deep tunnel of the internet looking at like having knee lifts and like liposuction around my knees. So I was like, I really want a pair of knees. Like I've just never had. Like if I sit down, then maybe. But you know, like when you stand up, like I have no knees. They just go backwards. And like I've always just thought how nice it would be to have a set of knees on me. So then I was looking into that. But I can see, like you saying, spending a lot of money, like you can see how you do it out of desperation because you're like, I want to be rid of it so badly. And weirdly for me, my stomach's always been more of a problem for me than my legs. But I think it's because my legs just always been that way. I kind of
yeah,
don't know any different. And I think that's why my stomach's worse to me than my legs. And also because I never knew it was a thing, I never even thought there'd be a fix for it. At
mm.
least I thought, like with my overhang, I can have a tummy tuck or I can get something to get rid of that. I didn't even know there was options for your legs and what you could do. Is that something that you're looking into now? Is there any kind of procedures or anything that you want to get done?
Yeah, I mean, now I'm just like, I just want it all done.
You'd be like me now.
I'm gonna have like for definite. I will have it's like micro lipo. You have to have a specific type of liposuction for
Yeah.
lipid fat to make sure you would like take out the lipedema fat. And it has to be done a specific way to be careful of your lymphatic system. So I will definitely have that. It's going to be surgery. If I have it in this country, it'll be 3 operations. It'll be one for my calves at the same time, and then one thigh each operation. Just because they can only take out, it will be under sedation rather than general anaesthetic. And
Ah, okay.
there's certain rules in this country, and it's to do with the percentage of your weight of how much fat they can take out each
Yeah.
time. So the surgeon that I've seen, like if you're a bit heavier you can take, but he sort of said to me it would have to be in 3. He couldn't take out, you know, he said unless I put weight on, but then obviously I don't want to do that because I want to
No.
take out lipedema fat, not, you know, regular fat. So
Yeah, don't
um
waste that on the regular stuff. We can get rid of that ourselves.
or I was chatting to Amy actually, Amy Bingham, Amy Plus Slimmers, is it Plus Slimmers? um
Yeah.
so about surgery because she's been talking to a surgeon too. So I might contact, and there's one in Spain that I really like the look of, but some of the ones, so the one in Spain you have to wait 10 days before you can fly home, and I just don't know if I can. I mean,
It's
it would be
hard, isn't it? Especially when you've got kids. Like I've been looking at there's a girl on here, Leah Punch. I can't remember her full name. Anyway, she's just had the exact surgery I want to have for my stomach and my arms. Oh my God, she looks incredible. And she went to Latvia, I think, to get it done. And the surgeon looked amazing. Her scars and everything are amazing. And it's about a third of the price over here. Someone asked how much, like to have the skin removed on your stomach, arms, and then what they call a 360 lift. So they like go round and just basically pull you up and together.
it looks
Um,
amazing.
I mean, I hope it'd be good. And weirdly, the a side effect of that, because I have got loose skin on my thighs, could be that it would smooth out the like bumpy bits on my legs as well, without having to have the thigh surgery obviously then. But in the UK, you're looking at like 20 grand.
Yeah.
And whereas if you go somewhere, like I'm sure it's Latvia she went, it was like 8.5, 9. But it's the same thing. Like I'd have to stay out there for like 9 to 10 days. And then you've not got your surgeon like right on your doorstep if anything goes wrong. So it's not as simple, I think, as going like, where's the cheapest option? There's so many things you've got to kind of consider
Yeah.
whenever you're looking into it.
Yeah, and some of the pre-tests, like I was looking at the one in Spain, you have to have so many pre-tests and they have to be paid for private, and actually when you sort of add it all up together, but he's meant to be amazing. And like when I see some of, so I'm so torn. I just want the best results. But I will definitely have the skin surgery. And but so what?
I know, and I definitely think it's something I would get done because I think the loose skin on my legs just makes it look all the more worse. Like I'm in a predicament at the minute where I'm like, actually, I don't know if it's the fact my legs are bigger or the fact they're just sagging. Like maybe, like, do you know what I mean? Like if I could pull them up, tighten them up, who knows? But it's just a big surgery, thigh surgery. It's like it's the one skin removal that I know they say is like recovery is you sit and you do nothing for like 4 to 6 weeks. And as you know, as a mum, the idea of being able to sit still and not really do anything for 4 to 6 weeks, I mean, it sounds like quite a luxury, but it also sounds like difficult. And I just know it's quite difficult to heal from.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would still I'll get in that waiting room with you. We can be in recovery together with our new legs.
Do you know what though? I think I just honestly, it's been so long. It would just be so worth it. I
You
will.
won't know yourself, will you? It'd just be amazing. Oh,
I will
1 minute.
in my chair with the remote control, and I'll just be sat on that, and then it will lift me up, and I could still work. That's the beauty of like my job with one-to-one. Like, I'll just be like, right, Keith, this is people's orders, and he'll have to pack them up for me, and I can, I can see people.
Well, I think that is like a real benefit for you, isn't it? That you have got that flexibility in your job. So it's not like you're having to look at like sick leave or like
Yeah,
anything like that. But that's obviously like an additional complication for me is I'm like, right, how long can I take off work in any one time?
yeah, completely. Because when I finally had my diagnosis, so when I'd spoken to the doctor, I then had to wait and see the dermatologist, and he was like, there could be over a year wait to get diagnosed, because it's obviously they don't class that as serious being diagnosed for that, because it's not something that he just said they're so busy at the moment, and this was pre-COVID. But luckily I'm under the dermatologist for my skin, so I had an appointment coming up 6 months later, and he was like, you won't get in sooner than then. So I waited the 6 months, obviously constantly googling lipedema. And then she confirmed when I saw her and said like what type, and because it affects my arms as well. I can't remember what it was. It was something like, I think it's even like stage 4 type 3.
There's always numbers and letters and categories and that's for
Yeah.
everything.
So the only thing it doesn't really affect is my torso at the moment, but apparently when you have surgery it can then affect other areas, so who knows. But it was just so nice to have that on my, it's on my medical records. And I was then referred to the lymphedema clinic, who then confirmed that I have secondary lymphedema. They like measure the fluid in your legs and things. So I have compressions, so I have to sort of wear them as often as I can, which is fine in the winter because they're just like tights. But
Yeah.
hot, it's quite hard. But yeah, so it's just nice having that kind of, it is something, it's got a name and all
It's
of
that
that.
acknowledgement, isn't it? Like you're not going mad. Like this is something, and having that acknowledgement can, like you say, just lifts a massive burden that you carry around with you with it.
Yeah, definitely. Do you so with your like you say you think you might, or you've been like going to speak to the doctor and stuff, do you find with exercise like that your legs feel better, they feel lighter? Because I measure mine when I was going to the gym a lot. Like I measure mine to obviously just to see if they would go down, because I just wanted to be able to say to the doctor, look, I do all of this and there's no change other than morning to night. Obviously they fluctuate, because by the end of the day mine can be a good 2-3 inches bigger, my calf. Add to me, but
It's weird. So they are definitely, it's difficult to say because obviously I've lost a lot of weight now. So it's comparing them to where they were to where they are, of course I'm going to be smaller because obviously I've lost fat in general in my legs. For me, it was more the pain that was making me question what was going on than anything else. Because the pain some nights is it's awful. It's a mix between like achy and restless legs. Like they're just really sore right from my calves up to my hips. And I haven't really noticed much different in exercise in the way that they feel. But I do think they are getting maybe a bit slimmer. But then again, I still had normal fat on my legs to lose. So I think I'm in a bit of a catch-22 where it's difficult to say if it's helping them or not. Are they still out of proportion to me than other parts of my body? Yes. And especially like my knees and my calves, I think I notice it more, probably because the skin's a lot looser on the top of my legs. So I kind of expect them to kind of look the way they look. But my calves get really tight and they would swell like in the evenings. And then, like I say, and I have one bigger than the other. So my left leg is bigger than my right leg. So I'm not sure if it's a normal thing or not, but so like I have like ankle Ugg boots, not calf Ugg boots, but like they stop at the ankle, but it can fit on my right leg, but it won't fit on my left leg around my ankle. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, it's something that I'm trying out of a hope that perhaps if I can get more of that normal fat off them, that they may feel better. And I think you get so paranoid, don't you, that by going to the doctors, the first thing they're going to say to you is to lose weight. And even though I know I've lost nearly 8 stone, I still go into doctors like I'm nearly 20 stone. And I just think the first thing they're going to say is, it's just because you're overweight. And instead of being like, no, I'm sure there's a reason why this, I don't think this is just because I'm overweight. And when I spoke to the doctor a couple of months ago, their initial thought was that it was like damage caused when I was very overweight, maybe like the ligaments and things like that. And they were like, oh, it will improve. Like as the months go on now and you drop a bit more weight, it will improve. But yeah, it's literally exactly the same as it was when I was heavier, which is disappointing.
Mine sat like, from what you explained, like mine feel like that, and my calves just feel so tight. And I found, so they said to me at the lymphedema clinic that exercise, you kind of need to find your balance. Sometimes too much actually can make my fluid worse. But I got in a really good place with going to the gym, and I was like, do you know what, I think if it's, I need to do what's better for my head in a way.
Yeah, 100%.
Feel better going, then I need to do that rather than worry about making them worse, if you like, because I've lived with them all this time and they've not changed. So I just need to put up with it if they ache and stuff. But yeah, it is tough, isn't it?
So tough. And I think I never realized how bad, like I didn't, not how bad it was, because it's not like that makes it sound a lot more life crippling than it is, but I didn't realize to the extent that it maybe impacted my day to day when I was bigger, because everything hurt, everything was really hard when I was bigger. But the more weight I lose, the more active I get, the more my fitness improves. I think the more it shines a light on the fact that that's just not, they're not normal, but there is something that needs a bit more of like an investigation with them. But I think the doctors kind of straight away, it was very much like, let's do some blood tests, let's do this, let's do that. And and the NHS are busy at the minute, like you don't get appointments really quickly, like like you said, there is a long wait for them. But it would be nice just someone to go, yeah, that is what's going on.
Yeah, and because that's something that you'd need to sort of take into account with your surgeon for like your arms,
Yeah,
like that, if that is
definitely.
arms, because if you're paying all that money, you want the best possible result, don't you? Because my
Yeah, and I didn't realise that if you've got lipedema, depending on the type, then it can impact your results from skin removal surgery, like anywhere. So that was another reason why I'm obviously keen to find out, because I don't want to go and get my hopes up to have this surgery if they're like, no, you're not gonna get the results that you want. I mean, I'd still probably have it, but I'd have to realign my expectations.
yeah, or just choose a surgeon who's kind of aware
Who,
of that.
yeah, exactly.
I had messaged others about thigh lift surgery before I knew that lipedema was a thing, or like had my diagnosis and sort of mentioned it, and a few of them were like, oh, I don't know what that is, and I was like, oh, like strike them off, because
Yeah.
that's something that obviously I would want them to be aware
Well,
of.
it's a massive player in what they're doing, isn't it? Like, and
Yeah.
how, everything you think, and I'm not a doctor, and I'll probably show that now, but even when you think things like, right, there are more blood vessels there because I've got that extra type of fat, am I more prone to like bleeding as a result of it? What are my scars going to be like? Is there any implication there? But there's so many other subsequent conditions that can be linked to lipedema, is what I found when I was looking into it, that can really play big impacts in your skin. Because funny, I didn't realize that skin conditions tend to go alongside it. So it's interesting that you say about having psoriasis, because it
Mm.
seems that the two are quite, not psoriasis and lipedema, but just skin conditions in general.
And any autoimmune condition,
Yeah,
yeah, they can all sort of go hand in hand. Yeah, because when and then also like joint problems. So I had a knee problem a little while ago, and had to have physio for it. And when I sort of mentioned that at the lymphedema clinic, because they deal with the they said, "Oh yeah, that's really common." And I was like, "Great." End up
another
needing
thing to add to the list.
in the future too. My list.
Oh God. So did you find when you'd lost the weight, did you find that any of your symptoms improved, or were they still pretty much as they had been when you were heavier?
Really similar to you, in the fact that I think because when I was bigger, um, everything ached. So then for it to then just be my legs. And I also didn't realize, so when I really got into sort of the gym and stuff, that I thought that what I was feeling was just the muscle aches that most people would feel. And then I'd sort of say to people like, oh, and they'd be like, like, how much did you do? And
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh.
how
Isn't it?
much that
I remember saying to Jamie, I was like, "Oh my gosh, my legs are killing," and he was like, "They shouldn't be that yet. Like maybe in like a day or two, your muscles hurt." But this was like a couple of hours later. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got the muscles are growing."
yeah, like that day, like if I do so the kids and I were out all day, and I think I'd racked up like 22,000 steps or something. And it got to like the evening, and I like laid down with them going to bed, and then I had to like shuffle because my legs just ache so much, my calves are so tight, like shuffling out of their
Oh,
bed, like it's and I just think, oh, that isn't right.
no, it makes you feel like a nana. Like I feel like an 80-year-old woman sometimes, like shuffling around.
Yeah, I'm supposed, you lose weight and you're supposed to be all like, ooh. I'm just like shuffling about. But I mean, obviously, I wouldn't change that. I'm so glad that I've been able to. And this plan's been so great to be able to kind of, lose as much of the, I don't know, normal fat,
Yeah,
that I sort of feel quite confident that when I kind of like I've been at a weight where I literally cannot push through, and I feel like and at the moment I'm trying because I want to know that is literally where I can get to,
yeah.
and then when I have my surgery, I've done absolutely everything that I can to, you know that
Get
I need.
yourself in like the best place possible, isn't
Yeah,
it? And I suppose this plan is so perfect because it is literally a fat burning machine. When you do this plan, like for like, like we're saying, like normal fat, this plan burns like fat like no other. Like everyone I know who's done this plan is like, I can never lose weight off my stomach, but oh my gosh, I'm like like that's where I'm losing it from. Like
yeah.
it's just amazing. It's like a little like how everyone does not know about it, I will never know.
Oh, I
Just
know.
literally the best thing ever.
I talk to everyone about it. I'm anywhere. I just, yeah, I've started putting with like my delivery boxes. I now put labels on with, I'm chatting to people at the post office. I try and go to different post office to deliver because not even for like myself, to get my business out there, it's just so other people know, because
Yeah,
struggle with their way, and it's like I have the solution for you.
I can fix it.
Yeah, like I just, I might not be the right consultant for them, but the plan is there, whoever they choose to go with. And yeah, like I just wish more people kind of would give it a chance as well. And I think, and it's not all about not eating, like you're showing now, now you've moved up, like you're doing so well. You were just exactly what the plan is about. You've lost your weight, and you're now exercising and moving more, and you're moving up the steps, and it's
Oh,
just,
it was scary though, I'm not gonna lie. Like
oh,
it was quite scary. Like I kind of have been thinking about it for a while and like speaking to Jem, and you'll have it with your slimmers as well when they kind of come to you like, look, I feel like something telling me like it's time for a change. Like, and I kind of had quite lower losses for the last month and a bit. Tried TDR, did absolutely nothing for me. Wanted to get into the exercise more because also if I want to have skin removal surgery, I have to build some muscle, because if they just try and tighten skin around bone, it's not really going to have the look I'm looking for afterwards.
and the
So
muscle or fat at rest once you're,
yeah,
it's an amazing thing to do.
so I was like, I need to do it. And then you're in that catch-22, aren't you? Because I'm like, well, I can't do it on the lower steps. So I'm gonna have to step up. But then it is so daunting. Like when you haven't really eaten food for the best part of 8 months, the idea of then having to plan what you're eating and what have you. And obviously it's only been a couple of days, but I said to Jamie, I was like, I feel like my mind has just like exploded with all of this like food knowledge that I never had before. Like even just reading the steps book in my video this week, I was like, guys, read your steps book, because actually if you get past that, like the step chart and step 2 page, just looking at the foods and realizing like what foods are better to have more often and what ones are better to kind of maybe have in moderation, like it blew my mind because I've never had that education before. It's always been, eat as much of this as you want and as much of this as you want, and no kind of controlling that, which is
Yeah,
my problem, which is why I was nearly 20 stone, because I can't control how much I ate.
exactly. I use that book every day without fail, unless I'm using step up meals or what have you.
Yeah,
But yeah, on I mean, I find personally myself, to maintain, like in maintenance, I need to stick to like step 3, step 4 calories, and I know that seems really low, but I think I kind of need to maintain for what my weight would be without my lipedema, if you know what I mean. Um,
yeah.
I find that if I go any higher, I can't maintain. Like I just can't. So if I'm going to the gym a lot, like 1200, maybe pushing 1500, but I just can't go. On packets when they say 2000 calories, or like there's no way I would put on constantly if I
But you
went down.
know what's really mad? When I was speaking with Jeremy, I don't know if you saw my live with him before,
It was
he was
amazing.
saying how like the NHS give these guidelines of calories, and he was like, not even my calories are 2000, and he's like, and I've never met a woman yet who matches me on my calorie output, just because men, the lucky buggers, they're always pretty much going to be able to eat more than us because they just have more muscle mass than women. um but I think because of that, we're driven to think that 1500 calories is really low. But like you, I'm only 5'3", There's extra things that make losing weight a bit more tricky, or like maintaining weight a bit more tricky. So if that works for you and you're having a well balanced diet, which this plan gives you, it teaches you how to have that, then you shouldn't have to explain yourself as to why that works for you, because if you found something that works for you, then surely that you're winning. That's what
Yeah.
we're all looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know, like, I have people who I know who, so if I go out and I'll have like a product or what have you, I mean, I'm vegetarian, so half the time when you go places, the options
Oh,
are
they're awful.
heavy or cream. And I'm like, I mean, when we went to Africa Alive today, I had a noodle soup with me. I just asked for some hot water, and because I couldn't be bothered to make up a packed lunch, because why would I, when the products taste so good as well? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
not
that soup.
up a soup.
So good. I love that you do that as well. Like I remember in the summer when you were doing your you were going out and about and you were showing people like having your products in pubs, and I think people have got a real worry over like asking, and I don't really understand why, only because I think I've shifted my mindset so much that I'm like you. I'm like, well, why would I do that? And like when I went out the other day, I asked if you had a chicken salad with no oil, but if you didn't, that's fine because I've got a product in my bag
Yeah.
and I will quite happily have that sat at this table. But do you find that because you're like that your slimmers are a bit more open to that as well? Do you get many of them really worried about going out to restaurants? Or because I imagine you're the queen of restaurant planning and like hyping you up before you go out to a restaurant.
Yeah, so I do get quite a few like WhatsApp messages with pictures of like bars and noodles and things out and about, which is just lovely. Yeah, no, it's really nice. Like, oh, I'm here and look what I've got, with a black coffee or with their water bottle, and I'm like, yay,
It's
because
so good. Don't you feel empowered?
yeah,
I felt like the queen of the one-to-one diet when I went to that restaurant. I was like, I am smashing it. And it didn't
yeah,
feel hard. Like it
yeah.
didn't feel like I was sacrificing anything.
Of course not. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like I'm you're doing it for you, and like people that you're out with, if they care about you, then they're happy with, they just want to see you, don't they? They don't care what you're
Yeah.
eating. It's, no, like, no one should.
Well, until they see how much weight you've lost, and then they're like, "Yeah, what are you eating?
Well, yeah, exactly.
What's
Yeah.
that?" But then, it's not, people aren't gonna, well, hopefully people wouldn't put you down for your choice of what you're having to eat at a restaurant. Like I said, people just are not that interested.
Oh,
Like they may be interested for a second, but as soon as their like meal comes out, they're not going to be interested in what you're eating. They're going to be interested in their own meal.
exactly. Like, it's not anything to be embarrassed about. Like, absolutely not. And even when I had noodles when we were last at the caravan and we went to a restaurant and I did a reel on it, the waitress, she took a business card. It's people,
Win-win.
yeah, but they are into, because they're like, oh, well, that's quite easy. Like,
Oh,
it's
it's
just,
so convenient.
it really is, and I think that is just the key. No one wants to
I
spend.
just want them to bring out a noodle pot and like
Yeah,
a porridge pot so that it's in pots for when you go out or like you're in the office and things like that, instead of it having to be in like the pouches.
can I
Um
say, amazing, but from a consultant point of view, where are them? The
I mean,
boxes.
this is your cross to bear. This is not my cross to bear.
I know, but still, it's
And
fine.
Gem's fine because I do direct to dieters, so head office can store them all and then
That is
I'll
true.
order them from them.
I might have to push that more if they came out.
Yeah, just be like, I think this is a really good option for you.
Yeah.
Oh, Heather, thank you so much for your time this evening. I have loved chatting. As always, I could probably have talked for absolute hours, but it's been an hour already.
That
Um, Hopefully you have that it was okay. It wasn't too much of a grilling. Like I said, these are just a chance to have a chat. And I think touching on something like lipedema, which, you know, like you said, 11% of women struggle with it. So the likelihood is that there'll be a good proportion of people who watch this video either tonight or in the future that also struggle with it. And I think it's a really empowering message to give, that one, you're not alone, and two, there is a reason behind it and you can get help with it as well. So thank you for sharing your story, because those things can be quite vulnerable. And so being able to have a conversation about that has felt really, really special on here tonight. So thank you.
Well, thanks for asking me. I feel so honoured.
Ah. Oh, as always, anyone watching that has got any questions, please pop them in the comments of this video, and me and Heather will sporadically be in there and we can answer the questions as we go along. But I hope you all have a lovely evening. Heather, thank you so much. Enjoy your holiday, and say thank you to the kids for being ever so well behaved. They deserve some kind of treat after this.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Bye.
Everyone.